Hey everybody, welcome back to Historical Light, an independent Masonic show focused on the historical events and aspects within Freemasonry. As always, I'm your host, Brother Alex Powers, and I want to thank you guys for showing up and visiting once again as we have another episode. It's been a while, right? It feels a little weird for me, maybe for you guys. For all of you that keep up with the show, I want to apologize. I didn't mean for this whole hiatus thing to happen, and I'm going to explain that here in a second. For those of you that may be new to the show, welcome. Best show ever. Nothing ever happened. Just, skip over this one and go to the next. No, in all seriousness, no. This year, or 2018, so last year at this point, kind of got the best of me. I took on a little bit more than I could chew, and unfortunately, something had to give, and I apologize. That ended up being this show. So as many of you know that it's kept up with the show, 2018 was my year as master, and it was the 150th anniversary of my lodge. So being the history nerd that I am, I kind of dove headfirst into that and took that on, and we had a really big celebration, and it was amazing. So if you guys didn't get a chance to see that or hear about that, I want to invite you to go over to the lodge page and see some really cool photographs of everything that we had go on there, and we'll touch on it here in a minute, but that's GardnerLodge65.org. Go check it out. It's a really, really cool celebration, but within that, the other thing I did this year and started this year, which I thought was plenty of time, it worked out. I rewrote the history book for our lodge, and that is where a ton of my time this year has gone. It ended up being just shy of 700 pages, but covering 150 years. So the last history book for our lodge, and I think I may have addressed this in previous episodes, but the last history book for our lodge was written in 1968 for the 100-year anniversary. It was, 100 years packed into about a 15, 20-page pamphlet. Just didn't do justice to me, to what I wanted to really show. There was a lot in there that I wanted to highlight that hadn't been. From reading through, it seemed like some of the books were maybe missing when it first got written, or in personal possession possibly, is what I figured. But now we have all those books. I wanted to really capture that information. So what I did, of course, biting off more than I can chew here, is I decided to write 150 chapters or 150 sections and do one for every single year, and actually go through the minutes, and as I went, just highlight all the big, great information from the lodge and make that into a book. I'm not a writer. I've never written a book before, so it was a learning experience as I went, but it was really, really enjoyable. I'm sure some of you guys watching the show, being history lovers, have dived into your lodge's minutes. Have you ever dived in and literally read from meeting one, the day of conception of that lodge, through current? It's amazing. There's really no words for it. I took on, I've looked in these minutes so many times before, but to actually put it in that storyline and go through it meeting for meeting and get that storyline perspective of what happened, it brought it to a whole nother life, a whole nother light to me. And it really ended up pretty impressive, I think. So, like I said, we broke that into 150 chapters or sections, one for each year, and covered all the main stats. And all the big highlights of every single year, included a bunch of pictures, but came in shy of just 700 pages. So still finishing up the editing on that, and I hope to have a physical copy in hand here in the coming weeks. So I invite you guys to keep a lookout for that if you're interested. I know it's kind of a niche inside of a niche, being my lodge's history, but I'm pretty proud of it. I think Gardner Lodge has a lot to be proud of. And I'm hoping just in the slightest that this book did a little bit of justice towards honoring that history, because that's what it's all about, right? So also, while I was going through that, the other mission on there that I've preached on here before is to preserve those minute books, not just in the fashion of this book, but in totality. Because, there's stuff that maybe I didn't touch on, or people want to look at the source material. That's key in historical research. So going through and doing this, as soon as I was done, I'm also scanning in all those books and getting digital copies And then we're air sealing all the original copies so that we can make sure that those original copies last as long as they can, knowing that eventually they're going to fade away as they currently are. But make those last as long as they possibly can physically, but knowing even when they do get to a point of not being readable or touchable anymore, that we do have those digital copies readily available. And we got them in a Google Drive, so anyone in the lodge can log onto the site, get into that drive, and access that information at real time, which is a really cool bit of technology and whatever you want to call it to integrate into the lodge and that type of history. So it's a good deal. Also this year, I took on the role as director for Kansas Lodge Research. That was a whole nother challenge. Obviously, I've never been in that capacity before, and that's been a roller coaster in itself. Not just taking it on, but it was a reboot. It was a system that the Grand Lodge just wasn't quite pleased with and wanted to see it built from ground up. Well, I've never ran anything like that before, so there's really a lot more behind the scenes background trying to figure out how this actually operates, and not just how it operates, but how can we set up a solid core system so that in the years to come, when I'm not in this role, it can be easily handed over and known that it's going to be a strong continuing program and not a mess, kind of like when I got it and someone else has to figure it out and it crumbles and all these ebbs and flows. So that's been a lot of busyness this year as well, trying to figure that out. But I'm actually to a point now with my board of directors. We've been working really hard on that. And I know this didn't really pertain into Historical Light, but pertaining to my year and kind of an explanation of why I've been MIA for a while. We're to a point now that we're really excited about what's coming this year. We've kind of got the background, the baseline, the core of it really figured out, I think, and we're to a point that we're ready to implement those programs and get them out to the public and really start making some waves. If you hadn't heard, one of the big things that we did going into this was actually open it up. Kansas is one of the Grand Lodges that does not allow out-of-state members. Now, granted, if you're a Kansas Mason and you move, then you can still be a Kansas Mason, but you can't be a member from another state and just plural member. So with that, I did get permission with the Lodge of Research that we allow non-Kansas Masons, as long as they're in good standings with their Grand Lodge and their Grand Lodge is recognized by ours, you can become a member of the Kansas Lodge of Research and partake in what we have coming down the pipeline, which is really exciting. That's groundbreaking, kind of a historic moment for Kansas Masonry to allow that. So we've had a lot going on there. One of the new aspects of KSLOR that we're getting ready to implement is virtual meetings. That was a huge one for me, right? Dealing with Lodge and the show, it's easy to deal with you guys or reach out to you guys. It's easy to get my guys at Lodge, but with an organization like the Lodge of Research, we have statewide, and now opening that up to members outside the state, really trying to figure out how are we going to bridge that gap and make it worth it to people to actually join. It took some rattling in my brain, but we finally came down to this aspect of virtual education meetings. Many of you guys have had experience with virtual lodges, and we're kind of playing off that a little bit, not making the Lodge of Research entirely virtual, but as far as the education meetings. So we're going to be holding these regularly, and it's going to be exclusive to Kansas Lodge of Research members, but we got speakers coming on that we got lined up from all around the world on different topics, and going to come on and have some great education and some research presented, and I think it's going to be a good time for all. So I encourage you guys, if you're not currently a member, to check us out, kslor.org. Go on there and check out for a membership application. Our requirements right now are, like I said, you have to be a Master Mason of Kansas or a Grand Lodge that is recognized by Kansas in good standings, and you have to supply a Masonic research paper and then fill out the application. As long as you're good there, you're on board. So I encourage you guys, check it out. This is a really exciting time to actually get on board with the Kansas Lodge of Research. As we're growing, we're building, we're trying to find out what works and what people like. this is a cool time for any of you to get in, because you can be part of that growth, part of that implementation as this explodes out. So I encourage you check that out. Like I said, not really Historical Light related, but kind of explaining another facet of where I've been. So what else has happened this year? Got some exciting news. I'm not only a Kansas Mason now. As many of you guys know, I've attended Ezekiel Bates Masonicon up in Attleboro, Massachusetts the last couple of years, and just thoroughly enjoyed that event, that lodge, that Grand Lodge, that area of the country. It's just fascinating to me, especially with all the history. But really, over the top, the brethren of Ezekiel Bates Lodge really just pulled me in. I ended up joining. I'm a sucker, right? So I'm pretty proud of it, though. Ended up joining, so I'm now not only a Kansas Mason, but also a Massachusetts Mason. So definitely proud of that. And that's coming up right around the corner. Masonicon is coming up in, April? So I will be there. Just talked to RJ. He's going up there as well from the Wentz KMU podcast. So I know there's going to be a lot of great speakers. There always is. If you guys are in the area or planning to be out there, definitely hit me up. Might have a few of the lodge books up there. So maybe you can check out one of those. But I'm trying to think what else I have to talk about. Not too much. I apologize for the quality here. So I meant to explain that first off, but obviously it may not look a little like you're used to. I actually pre-recorded this episode and was supposed to release it tonight in its normal quality. However, I came down with the flu, and I'd been in bed since Thursday or so and didn't get time to edit. And I actually record and then edit through software and render, and it takes hours and it's a big mess. And if I went that way, it wouldn't happen tonight. So I figured, yes, we're going to just get this out and use the cell phone tonight. So I apologize, a little darker, not quite the quality you guys are used to, but we'll get that back here really soon. Got some new equipment that we're ordering in this year as well to hopefully bring the audio back up to where we want it to be, replace some old equipment, and get this show back on the road where it needs to be. Promise you guys, Historical Light is not dying. We are doing a revolution. We're coming back greater than ever. Got some really cool interviews that we've been doing that are in the pipeline. So definitely stay on board with us. If you're not subscribed, this is your first time, welcome. Please hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you join the family. Check out our research group on Facebook, the Historical Light Masonic Research Group. Got a ton of great members. We're bringing that back as well. So definitely go there, click join. We'll get you in the action. But guys, it's great to see you all again. Well, I can't see you, but you can see me. Whatever. It's great to be here again. It's going to be back on track. Promise. Going to make it happen. But just wanted to offer up before we got into the episode, since it has been so long, just wanted to offer up kind of an explanation of what happened, where I've been. Just ate up a lot of my time this year. I've also got 2 kids, so family life calls as well. And it's one thing after another. Like I said, I suck at saying no, and something just had to give. So again, I apologize, but I thank you guys for staying faithful to the show, for the continued support, all the great words throughout this year. Encouraged me to get back on the horse. I'm back. Gonna make you guys proud. So with that, brethren, we'll see you next time. We got some great episodes coming up. You're gonna enjoy them. And until next time, keep seeking historical light. Take care.